Hello, and welcome to the Trecena of Keme. We'll be talking about February 8th through February 20th, 2024, according to the Mayan Cholq'Ij count of time, as well as weaving in Western astrology. These two systems are birthed from ancestral observation over thousands of years of studying the cosmos and the natural world around them. Though born thousands of miles apart, there are beautiful synchronicities to be found and a greater depth to understanding the energetics of the day, of the week, and of these times that we're living in for both personal and collective transformation, healing, and wholeness. If you're new here, my name is Samantha. I run Hands of Mercury, and here we are devoted to earth-based and cosmic wisdom for personal and collective healing. So I have one-on-one group offerings, events, webinars, and you can follow along here on YouTube, as well as checking out my website and my Instagram where I am active. The Mayan Cholq'Ij count of time is one of many forms of counting time in the Maya tradition. We also have the the agricultural calendar that is more related to the solar calendar. It's a 365-day calendar. And what's significant about this Trecena right now, this time, is that we are actually coming into a new year. So we are coming into Wayeb, which is the shortest day of the shortest month, of the calendar. 5 days that are considered time out of time. And then we invite in a new guardian of the year, Kablahuch Noh, 12 Noh on February 19th. So in the Cholq'Ij count of time, this is the ceremonial and spiritual calendar. And this calendar is a 260-day calendar. So that's roughly 9 months. We can think about the gestation time of a human coming into from conception to birth. And we have these Trecenas, the cycle of 13, as well as the cycle of 20, which is called a Winal. And that is the cycle of moving through all 20 Nawales. So 13 and 20 are significant, and they also relate to the human body. So this calendar relates to the human existence, the human experience. Now, in Western astrology, we have the 12 zodiac signs and 12 seasons of the year. We start off 0 degrees Aries at the vernal equinox, the spring equinox in the northern hemisphere, a little bit different than the sidereal calculations. And then we are looking at the transits through the planetary bodies. So I'll be weaving in both of these systems and energetics. Please join me now for a moment of intention and prayer as we call upon these heavenly bodies and these Noales so that we can speak with honor, integrity, and respect with the coming days and the cosmic weather ahead. So if you take a nice deep breath in, close your eyes, getting centered, inviting in the spirit of Keme, the spirit of the owl and the ancestors, calling on the 4 directions and the 4 elements, the heart of the earth and the heart of the sky. We are asking for blessings during this Trecena of Keme, during this time of Aquarius season, this beautiful unfolding of the new moon that is upon us. And we ask to be guided in ways that are for the highest good of ourselves and the highest good of all involved. Calling in the essences and noales, hun kame, kae kech, oshi, kanil, kahe, toch, o zi, waki bats, wuku e, washaki ah, belehe ish, lahu zikin, hulahu ahmak, kablahu no, oshlahu tihash. Calling in as well our beautiful planetary bodies that we will be speaking on: Father Sun, Grandmother Moon, Mother Earth, Sacred Messenger Mercury, Sacred Lover Venus, Sacred Warrior Mars, Father Time, Saturn, Sacred Guide Jupiter, Great Liberator Uranus, Sacred Dreamer Neptune, and Lord of Death and the Underworld Pluto. Thank you for allowing me to be a channel, a messenger, and a guide at this time. And may I speak on all of these beautiful energies and ancestors and elders with reverence and respect and integrity. Thank you. So today we're speaking on Keme. And I have these beautiful cards by Living Maya Cards. I'll tag them in the description. And this is the Chumil that is associated with death and the underworld. This is the unseen realm where we go after we pass on, where the ancestors go. This is a significant essence and Nawal because death is intrinsic to life. There would be no life without that polarity of death. And so during this Trecena, this can be quite an intense and transformative time as we are dealing with that essence of death, which comes with grief and crisis and loss and can shatter our identities and attachments. So, this is not necessarily a subtle energy. I'll even say, I remember being at Lake Atitlan in Guatemala, and the start of the Trecena of Keme began. And on that day, there was a huge fire down the road from me. And it was a crisis at the moment. It was a surprise fire of a building. And on the way back to walking back home, I saw a dead carcass of an animal and the birds feasting on this dead carcass right there in my face. The energy of Keme, the energy of death, letting me know that it was there and it was saying hello. And many of us can fear death. Um, it's especially in cultures that have taken task to avoiding it. And even we're seeing that with certain beauty standards and ways of living that seem to want to completely avoid death and the privilege that it is to age, to become an elder, to become closer to that signifying of moving on to the next realm. And so during this Trecena of Keme, I invite you to call in death as a friend and as an ally. As well, Keme is connected to the ancestors, and the ancestors are so important in the Maya tradition. It's shared by my teacher that those who do not keep this connection, do not respect their ancestors, can have a hard time with their destiny, with finding their way, with guidance. And so through this, there is a space during this Trecena to invite in more conscious awareness to your connection to your ancestors. And again, this is a space that can be quite complex with many shades of gray. And sometimes our ancestors were not the best people on earth. And furthermore, in their essence as spirit, they can help you to balance and bring balance to your family, to your lineage, to your path. So, if you are interested in diving in more to ancestral healing, ancestral lineage reclamation, please reach out. I do have resources available and qualified teachers and practices that I can share with you on that journey. I myself, in the past few years, have been in the space of ancestral reclamation. And I do believe it is truly some of the most important work that we can do in our lifetime if we are called to it, if it is something that is resonating within us. Since Keme works in the space of the underworld as well, and that space of darkness, there are shadowy forces that we know are afoot on this earth. And so, this is a Trecena where we can call in protection, make offerings to the earth, make offerings in the morning and through prayer for protection, for safe passage through our days, safe passage for our families. I say as well, if you are on the spiritual path, it's really important to have good spiritual hygiene and protection and boundaries. So it's great to start making it a practice every day to just call in protection. One of my favorite practices that I like to do is actually making my home space a space that is visually invisible to those that wish to do harm. So I visualize my space that I am in, whether it's a home base or where I'm traveling, as being invisible, cannot be seen at all for those who are seeking to do harm in any way, whether intentionally, unintentionally. Now, you could say that some of these spaces may seem superstitious, but again, there's been enough stories that you can find online. You can find through word of mouth, of people that are saved from going on an airplane or saved from getting in the car or move out of the way at just the right time. And part of that is a connection to your intuition, to your guides, to your ancestors. So it never hurts to strengthen that connection. And during this Trecena of Keme, calling on Keme, this is a great guardian in terms of asking for that protection in this physical plane. Keme is important in the story of the Popol Vuh, which is a very important and seminal story for the Maya. And there are two lords of the underworld, which are Hun Keme and Wuku Keme, 1 and 7 Keme. And the hero twins have to overcome the lords of the underworld. And again, point out this balancing of light and dark and the challenge for the light to overcome the dark. So there's a very important place for the darkness, for the underworld, for the shadow that is necessary for the evolution of existence and creation. And so with Keme, we can honor those especially who work in the shadows, who work in the harder, more challenging areas of life, sometimes in these unseen realms as well. They're doing very important work. And we got to thank the people that are going into those really challenging spaces who see some of the darker aspects of humanity and are transmuting or bringing justice to those spaces. So let's dive into the day by day from February 8th to February 20th. The start of Hun Keme of the Trecena of Keme is on the 8th, and we have already the moon moving in to meet up with the sun for a new moon in Aquarius. That's going to be landing on February 9th. So on the 8th, we have the sun in a square to Uranus. And this is an energy that can be restless, that's electric. There's a need for freedom at this time. There's a sense of liberation, of the breakthrough in some aspect. And this is going to continue into that new moon in Aquarius. So on February 9th, we honor Cholq'Ij, and this is the Nawal of the deer, the guardian of the forest, and also the representative of the four directions of the four elements. We honor the new moon in Aquarius, and this one is significant. This is our first new moon in Aquarius with Pluto in Aquarius. We have not had Pluto in Aquarius since the late 1700s. So this is significant for the collective. As well, this is in a square to Uranus in Taurus, and Uranus is associated with Aquarius, especially in modern astrology. So there is this collective restlessness, electricity, need for change, for progress, from breaking out of the stale traditions, of the stale ways of doing things, of the outmoded, outdated, old, crusty ways of doing things. So not only are we planting a seed for ourselves, we're going to be planting a seed for the greater collective, especially when we're talking about Aquarius and Pisces. There is a greater collective conscious focus afoot with those two signs. So when you're looking at your natal chart, and if you need help looking at your natal chart or would like to have your natal chart read, please contact me. You're going to want to make sure you know your rising sign. That's going to be the most important aspect of laying out the entire chart. And then you'll look to where Aquarius is in your chart. So I'll be speaking mostly on whole sign houses. And if you are, say, a Virgo rising, you're having this new moon in Aquarius in your 6th house. If you're a Libra rising, you're having it in your 5th house. Then you get to have a little bit more clues. What are the environments that are going on within each house? We're planting a collective seed, but we're also planting a seed in whatever environment or house that you are working with this new moon. With this aspect to Uranus, something wants to break free. You might be getting some pretty big insights on this day. Insights on a crossroads as well. Keh always has this energy to me of crossroads, of being in the center of a point and being able to look front, back and side to side. Which way do you want to go at this time? It sure is definitely not backwards. I think change is very much upon us collectively with Pluto and Aquarius. Whether we like it or not, things are changing and they're changing fast. And they're especially changing when it comes to technology, the development of AI, the development of tech warfare, the development of new jobs in some ways that are related to what tech is now bringing in, the Apple Vision Pro stuff, which is a lot. I don't know if that's my cup of tea, but there is definitely change afoot. So what wave are you riding when it comes to that change? That's the seed that we're planting today that will really come to its fullness in Leo season. So around August of this year, you'll see a major development of what is planted or what comes up around this time of February 9th. On February 10th, Tricanil is a day of action and again, planting a seed. Canil is the rabbit, it's the seed, it's fertility. So, as well, when we're talking about working with the lunar cycles, we actually can see the new and full moons as these standstill points. They're these moments where we take the breath. So, we've let out a full breath and we're at the point where the lungs are empty at the new moon. And then we start to swell, taking that breath in. And at the top of the breath, if we stop and hold, that is the full moon before we then get again release. And so these are necessarily moments, not necessarily moments that we want to push something forward. A lot of times, actually, we can look at those days as more days of calling in some rest. And then we start to initiate on Tricanil. Really great day, February 10th. Get going on something, initiate the phone call, initiate a plan, a project, a brainstorming session for yourself. The day is very fertile. Mercury is going to be squaring Jupiter. So there's a lot of ideas. There's can even be an overdoing of optimistic thinking on this day. There is a lot of mental chatter. This is a day there could be a lot of conversation in the air. And we have this excitement of Mercury researching and discovering in Aquarius, connecting with Jupiter and Taurus. So there's that fertility. It's connected to the earth. It's connected to the practical realm as well. So use this day wisely. It feels very active and energetic and airy and fertile on February 10th. On February 11th, we welcome in for Toch. So this is a day to connect with the fire. The fire is connected with Toch. And Toch is all about payment and offering. So it's a day of reciprocity, being thankful for the gift of life itself, being thankful that we have food to eat, we have air to breathe, we have water to drink. And always remembering while we're calling in and we're working on things and creating things and having fun with others, that we have times set aside, right? Every 20 days, Toch comes along and says, hey, give back, give thanks. Can you be of service on this day? Can you give back to the land? Can you give back to your family in some way on Toch? On this day of Toch, we have a beautiful Moon Neptune conjunction. Very dreamy, very intuitive day. So the moon will be in the oceanic waters of Pisces, connecting with Neptune, a day where we could be very connected in the dream space. So take note of what comes up in your dreams at night, as well as feeling empathetic and idealistic and affectionate, soothing something with the balm of forgiveness or giving someone the benefit of the doubt on this day. February 12th, we are welcoming 5Z. This is a day of empowering our rules and authority and our traditions. And so Mars is going to be entering Aquarius on this day. Take note, because as soon as Mars enters Aquarius, it's going to be in a conjunction with Pluto. And you will already probably be feeling it even to the start of the first day of this Trecena of Keme, because that Mars-Pluto conjunction is not subtle by any means. We can think back to the last big configuration of Mars and Pluto, and that was actually around the beginning of October when Mars connected with the South Node in Libra and made a square to Pluto in Capricorn. You can think back to the world events at that time. And now we're coming into the next part of the cycle of Mars and Pluto, and they're starting a new, larger cycle. They meet roughly every 2 years. So I'll just be honest, for those who are celebrating Valentine's Day, it's going to be quite an intense Valentine's Day. I could actually see some breakups coming up on Valentine's Day for some people. Be mindful of what you decide to do or plan, ways that you are triggered by planning or lack of planning. Be super communicative about what you do or do not want, because we do have that Mars-Pluto conjunction in the sign of Aquarius. On February 12th with 5C as well. C can sometimes bring a rigidity, or my way is the right way. No, my way is the right way. This is the way to do it. This is my authority. So just being mindful of rigidity and rules that are coming up around this day. Now, Mars in the sign of Aquarius, right? Our drive, our motivation, our action, our assertiveness is in this sign of community, of connecting with the bigger group, the group consciousness in some way. Pushing forward an ideal. So being very convicted about the ideal. But again, ideals and theories can sometimes be different in practice. So that's the challenge that we could have with Mars there. Now, if you are a day chart, if you're born during the day, Mars is more challenging for you. So just take note wherever Aquarius is in your chart. This transit of Mars can sometimes bring some challenges or some setbacks or frustrations, but ultimately can also bring drive and motivation there as well. So we'll have Mars there for the rest of the month. Now, on the 13th, we have 6 bats. So this is the creative, mischievous, childlike energy of bats, which is the Nawal of the monkey, paired with 6, which is about darkness, being in the dark before the awakening of 7. So there's a darkness to this day. And again, this lines up with our Mars-Pluto conjunction. So we have a bit of an intense day on February 13th. As well, Venus is going to be in a sextile to Neptune. That's going to be a nice mitigating factor to some of this challenging energy afoot on this day. Venus and Neptune are softening Mars and Pluto, bringing in some more affection, trying to bring more harmony. But that Mars and Pluto conjunction is going to be much more significant. And I just think that that will be very much more at the forefront than the Venus-Neptune sextile. As much as they're going to be bringing some softness, the main star of the show that day is Mars conjunct Pluto. So being mindful of your anger, intensity, of wanting to punish another in some way, wanting to inflict conflict in some way on this day. Minding our safety around this time is not the worst thing to think about. On Valentine's Day, February 14th, we welcome 7E, the awakening of the wildcat, the sacred path. And this is significant as well because we are ending our year of 11E, the guardian of the entire year. So this is really our final moment of honoring the year lord and then having E as the Nawal of the day coming forward. So reflecting, giving gratitude and thanks to the wildcat for bringing us closer down our sacred path during this past year. This would be a good thing to give thanks to on February 14th. And the moon will be in a beautiful conjunction with Jupiter in Taurus. So the moon moves into Taurus in her exaltation. This is so yummy. It's sensual. It's fertile. It's optimistic. It's connecting us with our body. It's connecting us with food and sex and pleasure. So I do enjoy this moon Jupiter conjunction. We still have Mars Pluto in the background. So that's just I'm just going to keep driving that point home. Mars Pluto. And again, because Mars does relate to that masculine aspect, traditionally, this could be that the masculine presence is more frustrated, more aggravated, more driven to conquer and inflict something in a situation, provoke a situation at this time. On February 15th, we welcome 8 Ach. So this is the armadillo. We just finished the Trecena of Ach. So there's always a cycle that moves. When it's Hun Ach or 1 Ach, you know that the next time we're going to receive Ach is going to be 8. 1, 8, 2, 9, 3, 10, so on and so forth. So on 8 the moon will then move into a conjunction with Uranus. So a little bit of a different flavor here. The moon, something to take note of the difference between the 14th and the 15th of how you feel, right? Because the moon conjunct Jupiter, our guide, our guru, our expander, is going to be a very different feeling than our moon, which is like the collective, the body, the emotions, connecting with Uranus, like the liberator, the freedom seeker, the lightning strike. And we felt this last week. We had a moon in Scorpio last week where the moon was opposite Jupiter and then she was opposite Uranus, but she was also square Pluto. And it was like there was a palpable difference in each day that she was in the sign of Scorpio and what planet she was connecting with. It was pretty interesting. So for those that like to follow the moon, especially those who are Cancer, rising sun, moon, you should definitely be following the transits of the moon. It'll be helpful for you. February 16th, we welcome in 9 Ish. So this is a very feminine day. This is a day to be honoring of the woman and the womb and the feminine magic and mystery of this day. This is a fertile day as well for those who might be wanting to call that in. And a day of ceremony is very heightened at this time. So gathering with women, connecting with women on this day is highly recommended. And we have Venus, our planet of love, beauty, romance, money, moving into the sign of Aquarius on this day. So again, as soon as she moves into Aquarius, we're already feeling her conjunction coming on with Pluto. This is one of the biggest parts of this Trecena, is that we're having our relational planets of Mars and Venus both interacting with Pluto, which is not subtle. Again, right? Pluto is the underworld, it's the investigator, is going to bring up secrets and things that we've repressed and we've avoided and shadows, but also brings this intensity, this soul depth, this magnetism, this charm. So Pluto can feel really good with the relational planets if you're willing to dive deep with someone. Mercury will also be in a square to Uranus on this day. So this could be a day where we feel a little bit mentally restless, a lot of electricity going on with the mental space, feeling kind of like a short circuit thing. So just take time on this day to quiet the mind. That will be important around this time that Mercury's in that kind of tense square with Uranus. And then again, Venus is going to be here for a few weeks in the sign of Aquarius. So Venus in Aquarius is interesting, right? Like we have love and affection in a sign that's very exploratory. Aquarius is known to be one that's going to do relationships unconventionally. So this could be polyamory, this could be open relationship of some sort, a long distance relationship, a relationship where people live and sleep in separate beds. There's just something that is not the tradition, the status quo, the Venus in Capricorn. So we're moving from Venus, who was in the sign of Capricorn for this last month, who is about tradition and return on investment and reciprocity, status. And now she's moving into like a little bit more of like her freaky, fun, interesting, wacky side. So if you enjoy that, and those would be people who might have Venus in Aquarius, Venus in Gemini, Venus in Aries might even enjoy that. You could really enjoy this time where Venus gets just a little bit more loose, a little bit more fun, but she does still have that rigidity of being an a Saturnian sign. Like she has like a way of viewing something or an ideal, and she is going to pursue that stubbornly. That is February 16th. On February 17th, we welcome in 10 Zikin. So 10 Zikin is a day of manifestation, of connecting with the birds, the eagle, the condor, the quetzal, the intermediary between heaven and earth. In the Maya tradition, this is the ruler and overseer of business and material goods and material wealth that we can circulate for us, for our family, for our communities. So if that's something that you're calling in, this is a great day to honor this, give offering in this space. And we have our planet of love and money conjunct with Pluto on this day. So again, really assessing sometimes our shadow around love and money when Venus and Pluto meet up, right? Like, what are our deeper motivations for making money, creating wealth, for partnering with someone, for merging with another, for seeking beauty in our world, right? Like, what are the shadow sides of that? And I know that the shadows of like Libra and Taurus can sometimes be like curating an image of something to project to other people when like you're not actually taking care of like what's going on underneath the surface. But you want to make sure that that image looks really beautiful. Like, oh, you have it all together. Your partnership looks great. Your business looks great. Things just look great. But like underneath the surface, are they great? Right. So Venus is really good at curating an image, but then kind of ignoring what's really going on under the surface and having tough, vulnerable, hard, honest conversations. And then as well, being shallow, like being vain, right? Like prioritizing people because of outer exterior things or because they have a certain number in their bank account. Like those are things that can come up with the shadow side of Venus. So we might be diving into those on that day of Tensikin, February 17th. Now we move into February 18th. We welcome in 11 Ahmak. This is a day of resolving conflict, of forgiveness. Ahmak comes every 20 days, and it's a day where we can call in the sweetness of the honeybee, the honey that soothes over conflict and guilt and mistakes. And so on this day, the sun is entering Pisces. So beautiful to have Ahmak be the guardian of the ingress of the sun into Pisces. Pisces is the last zodiac sign of the 12 zodiac signs. And then we start a new astrological year, calling in Aries, the spark, the regeneration, the spring. And so Pisces season is a wrap up season. It's a season of connecting with the collective unconscious, of forgiveness, of reflection, solitude, rest, of really taking in stock of the last year that we've had, of making amends where we need to make amends, let go of places where that is no longer moving into this next year with us. It's a season of transcendence. Sometimes we can feel overwhelmed. There's this like extra psychic connection that is happening between everyone during the season of Pisces. And during this season, we feel that empathy for another. We feel this sense of deeper connection of the interconnectedness of all life. It's a very spiritual sign. It's a very imaginative sign. We can think of Pisces as that realm where we go to find that story, this epic story like the Lord of the Rings, and then we bring it into this reality. So having this beautiful energy of Ahmak guiding us, we really are called. And I know so many people had some challenging life experiences that came up in 2023, especially disillusions of a lot of partnerships and relationships and friendships. That's that Libra South node that we're working with. So really calling in that sense of forgiveness. And again, Saturn's going to be really active during this Pisces season coming up. So, moving through that sense of regret or melancholy or guilt and releasing that. Sometimes Saturn can bring up these layers of shame and layers of like reality checks that can be really hard to digest. And so this is some of our task now so that we can enter this new astrological year with as much freshness as possible. On February 19th, we welcome in 12 No. This is welcoming in the Mayan New Year and in the agricultural calendar. So it's an exciting day. And this is a day to connect with our mind, our mental intelligence, our wisdom, the connection that we have to cosmic wisdom, the wisdom that comes both from books and from teachers, but as well from a higher source, from the cosmic space of dreams, of intuitive knowing, right? Claircognizance, just that deep felt sense of knowing. And so on this day, we have a very significant transit, one of the most significant of the entire year, and that is Chiron will be conjunct the North Node. So Chiron is this wounded healer asteroid archetype, and it speaks to our wounds, our sensitivities, many times a core wound that we might never fully overcome in life, but there is a deep work of meeting this wound and making friends with this wound, and then finding a capacity for empathy and compassion for others who might also be going through a similar wound as ours. And so Chiron spends a lot of time due to its orbit in Aries. So it's been here since 2018. It'll be here till 2026. And I find that there's a big peak of this energy specifically this year because of the eclipses that we're having in Aries and Libra. On this day, we have the North Node, the nodes being connected to fate and destiny and an evolutionary purpose. The nodes are very much a significant aspect you look at in evolutionary astrology, which is a school of thought of astrology. With this conjunction, collectively, personally, we're having this deep, expansive encounter with Chiron and Aries, which is about what are the wounds that are coming up in that environment, that house that you have Aries in. So for Aries rising, that's going to be your first house of self and identity. For Pisces rising, that's going to be your second house of personal income and finance. We're really having this moment of synthesis of all of the lessons that have been going on since 2018, moving slowly but surely in that house. And we're still going to have quite a bit of activation of Chiron in Aries this spring as we move into that total solar eclipse on April 8th. But really, we significantly will feel Chiron conjunct the North Node this entire month of February, just because of the way that the nodes move and Chiron moves slowly. This is the peak of that day, correct? Right? Like this is the peak of when these two energies meet. But we are feeling it all month. So what's interesting about calling in this new year and Chiron conjunct the North Node is there is a significant portal and opening to recognizing our collective wounds around Aries, which is wounded masculine, the wounded warrior, the aggression and conquering, the shadow side of Aries as an archetype, which is to act first and ask questions later, to overstep in that conquering and mastering and assertiveness, taking over something that is not necessarily yours. And again, the ways that we lash out through physical violence and conflict instead of through diplomacy, which would be through conversation and mediation in Libra. So we have a very significant transit collectively that we're working through of all of us taking stock of what that looks like. Why are these wounds here? What are the history? What's the history behind this? And like our history as conflict comes into wartime, right? What we do to each other as humans in war, what we do to the land, what we do to the animals. These are all significant themes and conversations that should be coming up right now with Chiron being so close to the North Node in Aries. Now, on our final day of the Trecena, this is February 20th, we welcome 13T hash. This is the energy of ascension with the obsidian blade. This is an intense energy, and this is a day where we can truly work with 13T hash to cut out, to let go of, to cut the cord on things that we are leaving behind. Goodbye. We do not want any longer. So this is a great day to connect with obsidian in meditation, to visualize, truly connect to the visualization space and release what it is that is not moving forward with you, releasing conflict, releasing perspectives that are not serving you. So how can you reframe a situation in some way? Releasing negative aspects of relationships that have been percolating in some way, right? And that's not just in the release of yourself, but how can you actually take action on that? But this is a day as well with 13 being involved, of connecting to the higher realm, connecting as well, again, back to the ancestors, the guides, the unseen spirits that help us in this physical existence, and asking for their help and assistance in cutting negative cords and releasing shadow patterns that we're working with. On this day, this is significant. The moon will be in the sign of Cancer, making a square to that Chiron North Node conjunction. So the moon is at what's considered like the halfway point between the ecliptic, right? So when she's in Cancer and Capricorn right now, she's squaring the nodes, which can bring in this sense of like a smaller faded development on the journey of the eclipses that happen every 6 months. So we get little days that like bring us, that next part of the plot as we move along. So that's significant as well, right? We're going to have that Chiron conjunction with the North Node. And then immediately the day after, the moon is going to square that. So we're feeling it. There might be a big emotional release at that time with the moon square Chiron, where the body wants to release stored emotions, stored up feelings. You got to feel it to heal it. So this is a great day to as well work with breath work, somatic healing, working with a guide to further release anything that's been stored or trapped in the body, which is so important because we do store many of our traumatic memories in this way within the body. And it's not just through talk therapy that can be helpful, but there's many ways, roads into deeper healing. This is a great day with the moon in Cancer to connect to that. As well, moon in Cancer connects us back to the home, the family, the past, the ancestry. So she's in her home sign in the sign of Cancer. All in all, this is a very eventful Trecena. This is going to be an intense Trecena, transformative Trecena. I have already felt that Keme, that energy of the underworld, is connected archetypally to Pluto, Lord of the Underworld in Western astrology. So to see so much Pluto activation already this season coming up, where we're going to see Venus and Mars making their transition into Aquarius and connecting with Pluto and hanging around Pluto during this Trecena, we are definitely going to be feeling it. We're going to be connecting with Pluto. But again, Pluto connects us to aspects of our soul that are so raw and integral to who we are. It strips the identities of ego and attachment and parts of our psyche that need to be composted, that are not a program we need to continue on, right? Like sometimes we have a certain aspect of our psyche that's helping us to survive and to thrive, say from age 18 to 24. And then that aspect doesn't actually serve us moving forward. We've learned with that aspect of our psyche, and now we need to be moving into a different way of connecting in and processing thoughts and processing experience. So Pluto is very much active in that process of regeneration, of dying before you die. So dying many deaths of who you are, your identities, your transitions from child to teen to adult to elder. Pluto is helpful in that way, right? Like everything is an ally, even the challenging things. Keme is an ally. Death is an ally, even in its very, very challenging and devastating forms. And again, we're in Aquarius season. So it's a beautiful time to be connecting to the greater communal cause. What groups and associations and organizations do you want to be aligned with moving into the future? Who do you see is bringing forward causes that connect to what your soul came here to do? We all have our different areas of expertise and our zones of genius, right? And if we cared for everybody, if we tried to be there for every cause and every person, we would drown. And that's something we see in the sign of Pisces, right? Like being a martyr for the cause or being so overwhelmed by the suffering in so many different places, we start to drown. So in Aquarius, it's nice because there's this boundary that Saturn brings. If that's not your area, you don't necessarily need to focus on that. Find the area where you can make the most impact with your leadership, your success, your skills, and go there. But it is important. We can go farther together than alone. So this is a really great season to just check back in on who you're going with together and where you're going in this time where the future is coming at us faster and farther than ever before. Thank you so much for tuning in, for following along for this Trecena of Keme, for these next days of Aquarius season and our transition into a new Mayan year, and as well into Pisces season. You can follow along here for more updates. Please like, subscribe, and share if you find this to be helpful. If you know somebody else that could really benefit from a forecast like this, And it's so helpful for me as a small business owner out here wearing many different entrepreneurial hats to have your feedback, to have your support. If you're looking for more insights, I have a bi-monthly email newsletter where I share deeper written insights on the new and full moons. As well, I'm active on Instagram. You can follow along there. I have everything in the description. Wishing you a beautiful 2 weeks, roughly 2 weeks ahead. I hope that you find much wisdom from this Trecena of Keme and connecting with the owl, connecting with death, connecting with the ancestors, and finishing out this Aquarius season as well. Until next time, take care.